The quantum field rippled like heat waves across Eden 7's protective dome, casting prismatic patterns on Dr. Sarah Chen's laboratory floor. She adjusted her holo-displays, analyzing the latest test results from her revolutionary quantum entanglement experiments. After 3 years of research on this distant colony world, she was close to a breakthrough that would change humanity's understanding of space-time itself. The colony of Eden 7 housed Earth's most advanced research facility, built into the side of an iridescent crystal mountain on a world 16 light-years from home. 5,000 of humanity's brightest minds called it home, working on everything from quantum physics to xenobiology. The colony's gleaming white structures and verdant biodomes stood in stark contrast to the purple-hued alien landscape outside. Sarah rubbed her tired eyes, her dark hair falling loose from its usual neat bun. The quantum resonance patterns were showing something unprecedented, a way to potentially fold space without traditional energy expenditure. If her theories proved correct, it would revolutionize human space travel. Dr. Chen, her eye assistant's voice interrupted her thoughts. You have been working for 14 hours straight. Perhaps you should consider rest. Just a few more minutes, Sarah replied, manipulating the holographic model with practiced gestures. These patterns, they're almost speaking to me. The laboratory's massive windows offered a stunning view of Eden 7's twin moons rising over the crystal mountains. The sight still took Sarah's breath away, even after all this time. Humanity had come so far, reaching for the stars with determination and ingenuity. Yet something about her recent discoveries suggested they had barely scratched the surface of what was possible. The first warning came as a subtle vibration through the laboratory floor. Sarah looked up from her work, frowning as her coffee rippled in its cup. Status report. Detecting unusual gravitational fluctuations in high orbit, the AI responded. Multiple objects decelerating from FTL speeds. Configuration unknown, not matching any human vessel patterns. Sarah's heart rate quickened. First contact. Here. She rushed to the window, her research momentarily forgotten. The night sky above Eden 7 was changing. Massive shapes emerged from what looked like tears in space itself. Dark, geometric forms that seemed to absorb the starlight around them. They moved with impossible grace for their size, descending toward the colony in perfect formation. Colony-wide alert, the emergency system suddenly blared. Unknown vessels approaching. All personnel to designated safety zones. This is not a drill. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, initiating emergency data backups. Years of research, she couldn't risk losing it. The quantum resonance patterns were still running, and now they showed something bizarre. The approaching ships were generating quantum fields orders of magnitude more powerful than anything humanity had achieved. Dr. Chen, Aria's voice held an unusual note of urgency. The unknown vessels are emitting energy signatures that appear to be interfering with our quantum experiments. The resonance is growing unstable. The laboratory's lights flickered as a deep, resonant tone filled the air. Sarah's skin prickled with static electricity. The quantum field containment systems were struggling against some external force. She reached for the emergency shutdown, but before she could activate it, a voice filled the colony's communication channels. Deep, harmonic, and utterly alien. Children of Earth, it said in perfect English, the words carrying an echo that seemed to vibrate in Sarah's bones. We are the collective. We have watched your development with great interest. Your quantum research has progressed far too quickly. For the preservation of universal order, we must intervene. The first explosion rocked the colony before anyone could respond. Sarah was thrown against her console as the laboratory's reinforced windows crystallized and shattered inward. Emergency force fields snapped into place, but the destruction was already beginning. Through the chaos, she saw massive shapes descending from the ships. Towering figures in liquid metal armor that moved with inhuman fluidity. Araya. Sarah shouted over the alarms. Initiate Protocol Omega. Encrypt and scatter all research data. Acknowledged. The AI responded calmly. Dr. Chen, I must inform you that similar attacks are being reported at other human research colonies. The collective appears to be specifically targeting quantum physics facilities. Sarah's blood ran cold. This wasn't random. They knew exactly what humanity had been working on, and they had come to stop it. Through the laboratory's broken windows, she watched in horror as the invaders methodically moved through the colony. They weren't killing indiscriminately. They were selecting specific individuals, researchers, and their families, somehow immobilizing them with fields of shifting energy. Data dispersal complete, Araya announced. But Dr. Chen, they are approaching the quantum research wing. Their energy signatures suggest technology far beyond our current understanding. Sarah grabbed her emergency kit and the quantum core's portable memory matrix. She had designed a backup system specifically for catastrophic scenarios, compressing years of research into a crystalline lattice the size of her palm. Araya, transfer yourself to my portable system. Initiate full laboratory containment protocols. The laboratory doors sealed as Sarah made her way to the emergency exit. Through the reinforced walls, she could hear the sound of systematic destruction. The collective wasn't just attacking, they were dismantling key research facilities with surgical precision. They're taking prisoners, Araya observed from Sarah's wrist computer, specifically targeting scientific personnel and their families. This suggests their goal is not destruction, but acquisition. Sarah's mind raced as she navigated the maintenance tunnels beneath the colony. The collective's words echoed in her thoughts. Preservation of universal order. They weren't here to destroy humanity's achievements. They were here to collect them, to control humanity's development like some cosmic gardener pruning an unruly plant. As she emerged from a ventilation shaft on the colony's outskirts, Sarah looked back at the only home she'd known for the past 3 years. Eden 7's once beautiful structures were now burning against the alien sky, the massive collective ships hovering above like dark mountains. She clutched the quantum core to her chest, knowing that within its crystalline matrix lay humanity's future, and perhaps their only hope of fighting back. Araya, she whispered, begin recording. The fall of Eden 7 will not be the end. It will be the beginning of humanity's resistance. 3 months after the fall of Eden 7, Sarah Chen sat in the cockpit of a salvaged mining vessel, watching the quantum resonance scanner she had built from scavenged parts. The device was crude compared to her laboratory equipment, but it could detect the unique energy signatures of collective ships, signatures that matched the theoretical patterns she had discovered in her research. The vessel, which she had named Echo, drifted silently through an asteroid field on the edges of what had once been human space. Its systems were heavily modified, incorporating elements of her quantum research to mask its presence from conventional sensors. It wasn't perfect, but it had kept her alive, while she gathered intelligence on humanity's mysterious attackers. Energy spike detected, Araya announced from the ship's systems. Collective patrol vessel passing through the outer sector. Their search patterns have become more systematic. Sarah studied the sensor readings. The collective ships used quantum fields for propulsion, communication, and even their weapons, technology that seemed to validate her theoretical work. But there was something else, something in the way their systems resonated that suggested a fundamental weakness. They're looking for survivors, she murmured, making notes on her holo display. But more specifically, they're looking for anyone with knowledge of quantum physics. Araya, correlate their patrol routes with known research facility locations. The AI projected a map of human space, highlighting the patterns of collective activity. In the 3 months since the coordinated attacks, Sarah had confirmed that every major quantum research facility had been targeted. Some had been completely destroyed, while others, like Eden 7, had been methodically stripped of personnel and technology. A sudden alert from her jury-rigged communications array drew her attention. Someone was broadcasting on an old emergency frequency, using a modified encryption protocol she recognized from her days at the Eden 7 facility. This is Dr. Marcus Webb of the Helios Institute. The message crackled through static. To any survivors, we have established a secure location. The collective didn't find everything. We're still fighting. Sarah's hands trembled as she triangulated the signal. Marcus had been one of her colleagues, a brilliant engineer who had helped design Eden 7's quantum containment systems. The transmission was coming from a small mining outpost in the Kuiper belt of a nearby star system. "ARIA, plot a course," she ordered, already calculating the risks. "But keep us in the shadow zones between their patrol routes." The journey took 2 weeks of careful navigation, using the quantum signatures of the asteroid fields to mask their approach. Sarah spent the time refining her theories, analyzing every scrap of data she had gathered about the collective's technology. Their quantum field manipulation was incredibly advanced, but it followed patterns that seemed almost familiar. The mining outpost was hidden within a massive asteroid, its existence concealed by a network of sensor scramblers. As Echo approached, Sarah saw signs of modification. Crude but effective attempts to incorporate quantum field technology into its defenses. Inside the asteroid's cavernous docking bay, she found not just Marcus, but dozens of other survivors from various research facilities. Engineers, physicists, and technicians had turned the outpost into a makeshift laboratory and resistance base. Sarah. Marcus embraced her, his face showing the strain of the past months. "When Eden 7 fell, we feared the worst. But you made it. And more importantly, you brought data." In the outpost's main chamber, Sarah connected her quantum core to their systems, sharing everything she had discovered. The assembled scientists watched in stunned silence as she explained her theories about the collective's technology. "Their entire civilization is built on quantum field manipulation," she explained, projecting a model of their energy patterns. "But look at the resonance frequencies. They're not just similar to what we were researching. They're exactly what we predicted in our theoretical models." "That's impossible," one of the engineers protested. "We were years away from practical applications." "Unless," Marcus said slowly, "they've seen this before. Unless humanity isn't the first species to discover these principles." Sarah nodded, bringing up her analysis of collective communication patterns. "They call themselves preservers of universal order, but I think they're really preservers of technological supremacy. They don't destroy civilizations, they harvest them, collecting knowledge and controlling its distribution." "But why take prisoners?" someone asked. "Why not just destroy the research?" "Because knowledge isn't just in data," Sarah replied grimly. "It's in minds, in intuition and creativity. They're not just taking our technology, they're taking our potential." Over the next few hours, the survivors shared their own discoveries and experiences. A pattern emerged. The collective didn't just attack randomly. They had extensive knowledge of human research projects, suggesting they had been watching for years, waiting until humanity came too close to something they wanted to control. "We're not helpless," Sarah declared, standing before the assembled group. "Everything we've learned about their technology confirms my theories. Their quantum fields are incredibly powerful, but they're also predictable. They follow strict patterns we can exploit." She connected her portable quantum core to the outpost's main display, showing the designs she had been working on during her months in hiding. "We can't match their power, but we can do something they won't expect. We can build ships that operate in the spaces between their quantum fields, ships that are effectively invisible to their sensors." Marcus studied the calculations, his eyes widening. This could work. But we'd need resources, materials. "We start small," Sarah said, her voice firm. "One ship at a time. We gather more survivors, build our strength. The collective thinks they've contained humanity's advancement, but they don't understand what makes us different." "And what's that?" someone asked. Sarah smiled grimly. "We don't just discover technology. We innovate. We find new ways to use it. They've been collecting and controlling knowledge for so long, they've forgotten how to think differently. That's their weakness, and that's how we'll beat them." As the survivors began organizing into research teams, Sarah stood by the asteroid's observation window, watching the distant stars. Somewhere out there, the collective was holding thousands of human prisoners, thinking they had preserved order by containing humanity's dangerous potential. They were wrong. The fall of Eden 7 hadn't ended humanity's journey into quantum physics. It had just forced them to take a different path. A harder path, perhaps, but one that would ultimately lead to something the collective had never anticipated. A species that could turn their own technological supremacy against them. 6 months after establishing the resistance base, Sarah stood in the asteroid's newly constructed shipyard, watching as engineers worked on their latest creation. The vessel under construction bore little resemblance to traditional human ships. Its hull was laced with quantum resonance crystals, its shape designed to exist in the blind spots of collective sensor technology. Ghost One is almost ready for its first test flight, Marcus reported, joining her on the observation platform. The quantum field modulators are performing better than we expected. The collective won't see us coming. The resistance had grown stronger with each passing week. More survivors had found their way to the hidden base, bringing with them crucial skills and information. Every refugee had a story of narrow escape, and every story revealed more about their enigmatic enemy. Dr. Chen, Araya's voice came through her wrist computer. Long-range sensors have detected unusual activity in the Proxima sector. The collective appears to be constructing something significant. Sarah brought up the sensor data on a nearby console. The quantum resonance patterns were unlike anything they'd seen before, massive and complex, suggesting a facility of enormous scale. They're building a hub, she realized, studying the energy signatures, a central point for their quantum network. But why there? Why now? The answer came from an unexpected source. A small group of survivors arrived that evening, their ship barely holding together after a desperate escape from a collective processing facility. Among them was Dr. Elena Santos, a xenolinguist who had been captured during the initial attacks. They're preparing for something bigger, Elena explained during the emergency briefing. I was held in one of their research centers, forced to help them understand human languages and culture. The collective, they're not just one species. They're a conglomerate of civilizations they've preserved over millennia. The assembled resistance leaders listened intently as Elena continued. Each species they encounter that develops quantum technology becomes a new addition to their collection. They take the brightest minds, the most promising developments, and integrate them into their empire. But humanity, we worried them. Because we developed the technology too quickly, Sarah asked. Elena shook her head. Because we developed it differently. Most species follow a predictable path in quantum physics research. But humans, we made intuitive leaps, found connections they'd never considered. They're building the hub to better control and study human prisoners. They're afraid we might discover something they missed. The implications were staggering. The collective wasn't just preserving knowledge. They were stagnating it, forcing every civilization to follow their established patterns. Humanity's creative approach to quantum physics threatened their entire system of control. Over the next few weeks, the resistance accelerated their preparations. Ghost One completed its trials, proving that Sarah's theories about quantum field invisibility were correct. 5 more ships were under construction, each incorporating refinements based on their growing understanding of collective technology. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. Late one night, unable to sleep, she found herself reviewing the original data from her Eden 7 research. Araya, she called out suddenly. Compare these resonance patterns with the collective's quantum network signatures. The AI projected both datasets, overlaying them in a complex 3-dimensional model. Match found, Araya announced. The frequency variations in your original research appear to predict previously unobserved fluctuations in collective quantum fields. Sarah's heart raced as she examined the correlation. Her experiments hadn't just been approaching collective technology. They had been on the verge of surpassing it. The quantum resonance patterns she had discovered suggested ways to manipulate space-time that the collective had never imagined. "Call an emergency meeting," she ordered. "I know how we can free our people." The resistance leadership gathered in the command center as Sarah explained her discovery. The collective's quantum network isn't just for communication and travel. It's the foundation of their entire civilization. But they use it in rigid, predetermined ways. They're so focused on preserving knowledge that they've stopped exploring new possibilities. She brought up the designs for a new device, a quantum resonance cascade initiator. We can use their own network against them. A properly tuned quantum pulse, transmitted through their hub, could temporarily disrupt their entire system. Every ship, every facility, every containment field, all disabled at once. "For how long?" Marcus asked, studying the calculations. "Minutes, maybe less," Sarah admitted, "but it would be enough time to get our people out. And more importantly, it would prove that their control isn't absolute." The plan that emerged was audacious. The growing fleet of ghost ships would launch a coordinated attack on multiple collective facilities, drawing attention and resources away from the hub. Meanwhile, a small team would infiltrate the newly constructed facility, using Sarah's device to initiate the cascade. "This is more than a rescue mission," Sarah told the assembled resistance fighters. "This is a chance to show the collective that humanity won't be contained or controlled. We don't just adapt to technology. We transform it. And after we free our people, we'll keep pushing the boundaries they're so afraid of." As the resistance base buzzed with preparation, Sarah made final adjustments to the cascade device. The quantum core from Eden 7, which had preserved her research through the fall of the colony, would power the instrument of its liberation. "The collective thinks they can preserve universal order by controlling knowledge," she murmured, watching the quantum crystals pulse with potential energy. "But real progress comes from imagination, from seeing possibilities where others see only patterns. And humanity's imagination, that's something they can never collect or control." The quantum cascade ripped through the collective's hub like lightning through a neural network. Sarah watched as the massive structure's crystalline surfaces flickered with chaotic energy patterns, its perfectly ordered quantum fields dissolving into chaos. For the first time in perhaps millennia, the collective's carefully maintained control was shattered. "Status report," she called out, steadying herself as Ghost One shuddered from the quantum backlash. "The cascade is spreading through their network," Marcus reported, his voice tense with concentration. "Their ships are losing power, defense systems failing. But Sarah, the hub's quantum core is responding in ways we didn't predict." The tactical displays showed impossible energy readings as the collective's central facility began to transform. Instead of shutting down, it was reconfiguring itself, adapting to the cascade in ways that defied their understanding of quantum physics. "They're trying to contain it," Elin observed, studying the data streams. "But look at the pattern. They're having to innovate, to break their own rules just to survive." Sarah smiled grimly. "Then we've already won, even if they don't know it yet. All ships, begin Phase 4, prisoner extraction." The Ghost Fleet moved with practiced precision, using the quantum disruption to penetrate the hub's now weakened defenses. Each vessel carried specially designed quantum resonance beacons, allowing them to locate and transport human prisoners through the chaos. "We're receiving the first groups now," Marcus announced. "Scientists, researchers, families, they're all here, Sarah. The stasis fields are breaking down exactly as you predicted." But the collective wasn't finished. As Sarah coordinated the evacuation, new energy signatures began emerging from the hub's core. The facility's crystalline structure was changing, its surfaces flowing like liquid metal as it adapted to their attack. "Fascinating," Araya commented. "They are attempting to evolve their technology in real time, a capability they apparently reserve for extreme emergencies. Because it means losing control," Sarah realized. "They're having to abandon their precious patterns just to survive." She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "Push forward. They're vulnerable now. not just their technology, but their entire philosophy. The next few minutes were chaos as the ghost ships darted through the disintegrating quantum fields, rescuing hundreds of human prisoners. The collective's massive vessels drifted powerless, their crews struggling to comprehend a situation that didn't match any of their historical data. Then, just as the last group of prisoners was being evacuated, the hub's core pulsed with new energy. A voice echoed through every quantum frequency, but this time it was different, fragmented, uncertain. "You do not understand." The collective spoke, their usual harmonious tone replaced by something almost desperate. "Order must be maintained. Progress must be controlled. The alternative is chaos." Sarah transmitted her response on the same frequency. "You're wrong. Real progress comes from chaos, from the freedom to explore new possibilities. Every pattern you've preserved started as someone's impossible idea." The hub's transformation accelerated, its structure now resembling a fractal storm of quantum energy. The collective was changing, forced to evolve by humanity's refusal to follow their established paths. "All prisoners secured," Marcus reported. "But Sarah, these readings, the cascade is affecting their entire network. Every collective facility, every ship in known space, they're all experiencing the same disruption." "Good," Sarah replied, watching as the hub's perfect symmetry continued to break down. "Let them learn what it feels like to face the unknown. Send the final signal. All ships, prepare for quantum jump." As the ghost fleet prepared to escape, Sarah transmitted one last message to the collective. "You tried to preserve knowledge by controlling it, by forcing every civilization to follow your patterns. But true understanding comes from freedom, the freedom to question, to imagine, to be wrong, and try again. Remember that after we're gone." The ghost ships activated their quantum drives simultaneously, using the cascade's chaos to mask their escape vectors. As they jumped away, Sarah caught a final glimpse of the hub through Ghost One's sensors. The massive facility was still transforming, its rigid patterns dissolving into new configurations that even the collective had never imagined. 3 weeks later, Sarah stood in the observation dome of humanity's new hidden base, watching as rescued scientists and their families began rebuilding their lives. The quantum cascade had done more than just free the prisoners. It had forced the collective to confront the limitations of their own ideology. The latest scans show significant changes in collective activity, Elena reported during the morning briefing. They're withdrawing from human space, consolidating their forces. But more importantly, their quantum technology is evolving. They're exploring new configurations, testing possibilities they'd never considered before. "They learned from us," Marcus added, "even if they didn't want to. The cascade showed them that their way wasn't the only way, that sometimes progress requires breaking established patterns." Sarah nodded, her hand resting on the quantum core that had started everything. Her original research from Eden 7, now expanded by what they'd learned during their resistance. "We didn't just fight for our freedom," she said quietly. "We fought for the right to explore, to discover, to make mistakes, and learn from them. And in doing so, we taught an ancient civilization the most important lesson of all." "What's that?" Elena asked. Sarah smiled, watching as a group of children played in the artificial garden below, the next generation of human explorers and innovators. "That the universe is too vast and wonderful for any single pattern to contain it. True preservation isn't about controlling knowledge. It's about nurturing the spark of curiosity that drives us to seek new understanding." In the years that followed, humanity would rebuild and expand, their understanding of quantum physics forever changed by their encounter with the collective. But more importantly, they had proven that progress couldn't be contained or controlled. It lived in the dreams of every species that dared to imagine something new, in every mind that looked at established patterns and asked, "What if?" And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, an ancient civilization was learning to ask that question for the first time in millennia, their perfect order transformed by the chaos of human defiance. The fall of Eden 7 hadn't been an ending. It had been the beginning of a new chapter in the story of two civilizations, both forever changed by their collision. Progress, Sarah knew, would always find a way, not through rigid preservation or controlled evolution, but through the beautiful, chaotic dance of minds free to imagine, to question, and to defy the impossible.